The story continues with Kang pondering his head for a plan while Mitchell and others are looking worried. He called the left hand of Kwong and asked him to evacuate everyone from the club except the 4 foreigners. But it was not up to that guy to decide, so Kang called Boss Kwong. When he asked him to close the club for today, he freaked out because even Kwong wasn't in full control of the club. This could make the shareholders angry, but Kwong insisted he do it immediately as he didn't have much time. In return, he would do one job for him no matter what it was. After hearing that, Boss Kwong agreed to evacuate the club. Boss Kwong also offered his men the job, even though that would make his chance of success much higher. But after thinking about it, Kang denied him. Mitchell asked him what was going on. He couldn't keep it secret from them and told them that the serpent venomer was in the club. They knew about this gang as they were infamous in France. They were terrified but still offered to help. But they wouldn't be able to help anyone with that terrified look on their face, said Kang, and suggested they leave the hotel. He left them in the guy's care and reunited with Daeru. While going inside, Kang suggested they took care of 2 of them each at once while they were unaware of their true intentions. Dae points out the possibility of them having a gun, to which Kang replies that this was Korea, and also they wouldn't have brought guns with them since they didn't know their true intentions. People were being evacuated from the club, which they didn't like, obviously. Smithen greets them. Kang acted as if he didn't know Smithen was there too. Smithen asked him where were the girls that he was talking about. Kang replies that they are on their way. Smithen offered to have a drink with them, but it was clear he was there just for the ladies. He asked about Daeru. Kang introduced him as the man who introduced him to the ladies. Smithen started being friendly to him after hearing that and offered him a drink. Daeru looked at him in anger, but Smithen didn't know what was going on with him. After having a couple of drinks, Smithen noticed that there were only a few people left. He remarked how disappointed he was in Koreans. Kang assured him saying it was because it was still early, and that he would be surprised in a few moments. Just then, the gates close, which alerts them. One of them informs Smithen that something is wrong. While they were distracted, Daeru and Kang attacked them with beer bottles. Daeru knocked one of them down in an instant, and they both attacked the rest of the 2 with bottles. But Smithen instinctively kicked the table in front of him and escaped for the moment. While they were busy dealing with the serpent for Nemuex, Smithen tried to run away. Kang saw the guy whom Daeru had knocked out earlier. He was about to attack Daeru, but Kang throws the bottle at him and takes him on, while Daeru goes after Smithen. He tackled Smithen on the floor, got on top of him, and started punching him brutally. Meanwhile, Kang was fighting. The other guy was keeping his ground against Kang. When the guy couldn't win in a fist fight, he reached into his pocket for a weapon. Kang was worried that he was reaching for a gun, but luckily it was just a knife. Seeing his stiff and awkward position, Kang could tell that he was not an expert with knives. The guy attacked him with this knife, but Kang easily dodged his attack. He made him drop his knife and locked him in an arm hold. The guy asks him to stop, but Kang goes ahead and breaks his arm. Now that he had dealt with him, they had successfully neutralized all 3 of them. Now the only one remaining was Smithen. But when he turned around to look at what was going on with Daeru's fight, he was baffled. Smithen was holding Daeru by the neck, and Daeru was knocked out. Smithen had a weird tick. He moves around his neck when he is confident in a fight, and he is doing that right now. Kang knew that he needed to break his mind first. Smithen asked him if he was doing this because of the contract. Kang asked him if he still hadn't realized who he was, even after knowing his name. Smithen didn't know what he was blabbering about. Obviously, he knew his name, but what did that have to do anything with right now? Kang asked him how he survived, and if he really betrayed his squad members. Smithen still didn't fully understand what he was talking about, so Kang gave him one more clue, saying that the guy he was holding was none other than Daeru. Smithen had started to hear what he had to say and asked him what was his real identity. Kang told him again that he was Kang, the one he held on to when he was about to die, the Kang who beat him half to death when he left halfway through the battle to mess around like a dog, the god of the battlefield, Kang. The images of war started to flood Smithen's mind. The times he spent with Kang on the battlefield. He didn't want to believe him. Kang has started to get to him. He goes on to torment him even more by calling him a traitor. Smithen had a gut feeling about coming to Korea. Now he understood why. But he was not the same Smithen Kang used to know. He calmed himself down and pointed out that even if he was the real Kang, he couldn't possibly defeat him with that twig body of his. Kang tried to gaslight him into fighting him one-on-one, but Smithen figured that if he was the real Kang, and the one he was holding was the real Daeru, then he had the upper hand. He knew Kang wouldn't attack him as long as he had Daeru in his hand. Kang also realized that this guy wasn't stupid like before. He had started to use his brain after going corporate. Just then, Daeru came to his senses. Kang calls him stupid for not signaling him if he was awake. Smithen also found out that he was awake, and before Kang could reach him, he broke Daeru's neck. But while he was distracted with Daeru, Kang targeted his eyes and was successful. Smithen pointed out how before, it felt like he was getting hit by a firestorm, but now, this only stings a bit. His strength had decreased considerably. Kang was surprised that he didn't drop after that hit. Smithen compliments him for doing at least that much with his puny body. Smithen attacked him with his full force. He was like a monster. Compared to him, Kang really looked like a twig. But even with his puny body, he managed to dodge his attack and landed a strong punch to his face. Smithen may have a monster's body, but when it comes to speed, he is nowhere near him. Kang kept throwing punches at him, which made Smithen to be in a defensive position, until he wasn't. Smithen found an opening and attacked him, and with just one attack, Kang was thrown away. He received much more damage than what Smithen received with all those punches. His hands started shaking with the impact. Kang was clearly at a disadvantage. He couldn't afford to get hit by him many times. The only option he had was to attack his vital parts. While he was thinking all this, Smithen attacked him again, mocking him for how weak he was compared to the god of Blackfield he knew. Kang dodges the attack once again and targets his other eye. While he was thinking he managed to land the hit, the reality hits him and so does Smithen. The punch this time was even stronger than before, to the point if Kang got pushed back any further, he might die. So instead of getting pushed back, he embraced his critical attack and launched his own attack on him. Kang was receiving one hit after every 2 attacks, but Smithen's punches were giving him more damage than both of his punches combined. But Kang just goes through the hellish pain and kept attacking him with his all might, and eventually, Smithen was on the defensive again. Kang didn't waste even 1 second and took the chance to land as many critical hits as possible, and with a finishing kick, he knocked him down on the ground. Smithen was frustrated with himself for getting beaten up by him once again. But Kang was not done yet. He started punching him while he was down. He further goes on to attack his other eye as well. Kang beat the crap out of him, but he himself wasn't unscathed. His whole body was falling apart from the inside. He ordered Boss Kwang's minions to take Daeru to the hospital first. He was still not done with them. He takes the bat from one of them and starts beating up the serpent venomer dudes brutally, getting them to realize that they are in Korea. After he crippled them, he picks up a broken bottle to use it on Smithen, but he assured him that he was not going to kill him. In fact, he would even send him to a hospital, but after he was done with him, Smithen blamed Saffron and told him that he was the one who sold them out. But it was too late. Kang had made up his mind, but he stopped when Smithen told him that they were using his dad's company to export drugs and diamonds. Kang got even more bloodthirsty and asked him what he was talking about. Smithen told him what their original plan was. Kang didn't fully understand what was he talking about, but one thing was clear: if things didn't change, his father would be in danger. He stabbed him with the broken glass anyway, but it broke in just one hit due to his monster of a body. So he asked for the knife that one of their own guys had brought with them. He started attacking him with the knife without mercy, but he didn't kill him. After Smithen got knocked out from the excruciating pain, Kang ordered the others to take him to a hospital. The guy told him that it was Kang himself who needed to get hospitalized the most. Even after all that, he walked to the hospital and asked for Dr. Yu Hien-woo. Kang got the news that Daeru was still alive, but he wasn't out of danger just yet. After the scan results came out, the doctor informed him that his inside was in chaos. 3 of his ribs were about to be shattered. It is a miracle that he could even walk. All the things considered, he needed to get hospitalized immediately. If he doesn't, his bones will break and pierce through his organ. But Kang said he couldn't afford to get hospitalized. The doctor puts it in even simpler words: if he didn't get hospitalized now, he would die. But even then, Kang asked him to just wrap him up in some bandages and give him some strong painkillers. Because if he were to get hospitalized right now, his family, his companions, and everyone would be in danger. The doctor understood and assured him to do whatever he could. He prescribed him some strong painkillers and wrapped him up with the strongest rib belt. But he warned him not to ever remove it no matter what. He wore the rib belt and was walking as if nothing happened. He went to see Daeru, who still hadn't woken up. He scolds him for not escaping when he finds out that he is in danger. Kang thanked him and assured him to just take a long nap and leave everything to him. He left the room with bloodthirsty eyes. Boss Kwang's men bowed before him and let him pass. Inside this room were the French gangsters and Smithen. Just as he entered the room, they started laughing at him except Smithen. They threatened to harm his family and everyone he knows just after they got out of the hospital. They had just fought with him, That's why they were defiant. He decided to break their spirit first. He asked one of his men to bring the thing. The guy was mocking him by acting scared until their fear became real. The guy came back with the knife he used in the last fight. The man tried to threaten him again, saying if he, a foreigner, got hurt in another country, Kang wouldn't be able to get away with that. But Kang didn't care and started attacking him with things while saying that he should say that in the embassy. The guy begged him to stop while screaming in pain, but Kang didn't listen to anything he had to say. After he broke the first guy, he moved forward to the second guy. The second thug was already severing and crying, but Kang was not that merciful. He felt bad for the doctor, but he needed to break their spirit or they would come after him and his family again. Even the gangsters outside thought he was going overboard. Even they'd never done something like that. Suddenly, the voices stopped. When they tried to look, Kang opened the door to their face and told them to get the injured in another room. After they sifted them to another room, Smithen could feel that he was coming towards him. He says to him that he has already learned his lessons and that he won't come after him ever again. Kang knew this, but he couldn't accept the thought that he'd get to work again after betraying him and his team. Smithen explained to him that it was all Saffron's plan. He was the one who sold them. After the massacre, when Saffron thought no one was alive, he brought a rescue team, but he happened to be clinging to his last breath. Kang pointed out why he was following him like a dog then, and why he didn't tell anyone about his betrayal. To which Smithen replied that he had sold them for a diamond. There were gangs all over the place. He couldn't have done anything with a bullet in his stomach, even if he wanted to. He explained how he just wanted to live a little longer. Kang says to him that he should have told them secretly while he was in hospital. Kang was furious that he was only thinking about himself and stabbed his thighs. He asked for the other guys who were with Saffron while torturing him. Smithen told him that there were two of them and they were armed with guns. Even after Smithen told him what he wanted to know, he still attacked his other leg. He was leaving after that, while thinking that he had to take care of this before Saffron got the news about them. Just then, the doctor came storming and yelled at him for his actions, and threatened to stop taking him in if he kept doing that. Kang informed him that they were from the worst gang in France. If he had just let them be, they'd have killed all the patients, nurses, and him as well, and would have escaped after that. Also, he didn't die or kill someone, so he didn't break the promise. The doctor asked him if there were still more. Kang told him there were 3 more. The doctor understood and said that he couldn't let go of a cash cow like him. Kang was planning to get straight to Saffron, but he didn't know how he was going to take him down. He was not as straight as Smithen. He must already have suspicions about the situation. And even if he somehow managed to get to him, he wouldn't be able to fight Saffron in his state. On top of that, there were 2 more guys with guns. On the other hand, if someone were to lift even a finger at him, his body probably crumble into pieces. He had no advantage over him. Just then, a thought crossed his mind. Why would Saffron send bodyguards with someone as strong as Smithen in a safe country like Korea? He realized that the men weren't for his safety, they were there as surveillance. Meaning Smithen knew about his weaknesses, and Saffron didn't want him to spill the beans. The one in the hurry wasn't him, it was Saffron. Kang came back to Smithen, which made him freak out. Smithen asked him if he was going to kill him for good. Kang asked him what he did with the money that he got after selling the diamond. Smithen was hesitant to answer the question and was looking for ways to dodge it. Kang dared him to lie to him, but if he failed to trick him, he would kill him. Smithen asked him if it was okay to talk in front of the doctor. The doctor didn't know French, so it was all right. Smithen told him that the money was in the Swiss bank. Then King asked him why Saffron left him alive. Knowing him, he wouldn't take this big of risk. It was because Smithen and Saffron shared the password to the account, which had more than 10 billion won. If he killed him, he wouldn't get the money. This wasn't something Smithen could have come up with. It was Smithen's idea to keep his mouth shut. Kang wondered what kind of diamond would be that expensive. He asked Smithen if it was the blackhead diamond. This was the type of diamond that only appeared once every few dozen years, even in African mines. The devil's gemstone. Now Kang understood why Saffron lost his mind over it. Kang asked him about the password, but Smithen wasn't sure if he should tell him. So, Kang asked the doctor to scream in anger on any topic. They started yelling about what they should have for dinner this evening. Smithen didn't understand what they were talking about and thought the doctor going to hurt him. Smithen didn't want to get hit anymore and told him the password, which was Smithen 93C7 odd Africa. Kang knew he wasn't lying because only he would come up with a password like that. Smithen told him about the drugs as well, but he didn't about the buyer. Kang was about to call Boss Kwong, but he realized that he had lost his phone. He got one of his men to contact him. When he told him about the drugs, Boss Kwong got furious because they were smuggling drugs into his territory without him knowing. Kang was worried he might be a part of it, but seeing his reaction, he was relieved. After letting him in on his plan, Kang advised him that he mustn't provoke those French goons because they were not ordinary people. But Boss Kwong wasn't going to lay low in his own territory. After that, Kang contacted the Namsan Hotel and left a message for Saffron. While Saffron was in a meeting, one of his men delivered the message to him. The message was, and I quote, "Swiss bank, drugs, and the god of the Blackfield is waiting." Kang also contacted the right-hand man of Boss Kwong for any updates on Saffron. After hearing the message, Saffron immediately goes to take the call. Saffron asked him if Smithen told him something and that if he gave him Smithen, he would give the monopoly of the cars to him. Kang realized that Saffron was thinking that Smithen had betrayed him. He played along with it and asked him for an unreasonable deal. Saffron told him that he didn't know what he was getting himself into. There were organizations far beyond what he could ever imagine. Saffron tried to use his silver tongue to get out of the situation, but Kang was not agreeing with him. Saffron was fuming with anger, and it didn't help that his way of speaking reminded him of the other Kang that he knew. Saffron agreed to have an agreement with him and asked him to come to the hotel the next day. Saffron was furious, but he couldn't do anything. Kang was aware that Saffron was different from Smithen. No matter how much hurry he was in, he always did what needed to be done without making a mistake. The situation was dire, and his body was a total wreck. Kang called his parents, who were worried about him. He said that he would be home soon. He remembers the times he has spent with his new parents. At home, his mom was sick again because she was worried about him. But now that he was coming home, she was feeling better. Just then, his father gets a call from his manager, and what he heard shocked him. The manager told him that they got the deal and that it was because of Kang. Just then, Kang came home. His mom hugs him, which makes him go through excruciating pain from his injuries. His father asked him how he got the deal, to which he replied that he just got help from someone on the internet. His father doesn't question him further. Kang asked them permission to let him go see his pay teacher, who recently got into an accident. The father agreed and worked him down. He asked him if those gangsters helped him, but he didn't get help from them. He told him that it was something Saffron offered him. He couldn't tell him the details for now. His father understands and shows his gratitude towards him. When he came back to the hospital, one of the gangsters gave him the good news that the teacher had woken up.